One of the questions that was in the classroom that I thought was something that if one person has the question, then probably others have the question as well. And that question was about, what do Carolyn and I do with our own horses in developing or in figuring out what to do because they're trained already? And what we want to clarify is that's actually not the way we perceive it. This is a foundational program. So this is something that we're continually working with our horses forever, because we're continuing to keep the relationship strong. Just like any human relationship, we have to work at that relationship to continue to keep the bond growing, to continue the trust, to continue respecting one another and being willing to do things together and staying focused on each other. So this is the same for us and the horse. So the subject of 5 heartfelt strings of connection is the subject that we are going to be speaking on today. And I'm going to spotlight us, Carolyn, so that we can have this for the classroom. So the subject is going to be based on the 5 heartfelt strings of connection and how we use this program to continually connect with our horse on a daily basis, to see where our horse is at, to see if we have 5 heartfelt strings of connection on our horse in the moment before we act for anything, performance or anything else. So Carolyn, what do you say we talk about the 5 heartfelt strings of connection and why you developed this particular 5 rituals to interact with the horse in this way?
Well, the thing that I noticed years ago is when I would watch people in the warming up for a class, I could see that what was happening in the warm-up was not helping the horse to be in the right frame of mind to go into a show ring. And what is the right frame of mind is that horse is thrilled to go in and be shown, that's what he wants to do. That the main thing is, he says, boy, I'm sure glad they put this show on for me. So when you go up to a horse every day, you've got to look at that horse and say, what's going on for him personally? What's going on here for him personally? How does he feel? And the 5 heartfelt strings of connections teach the student to really listen to their horse, so that you're going and you're listening to say, where are you coming from, Dave? Where is your energy? Is your energy low? Are you nervous? Are you ready to give me your attention? And so when you go see your horse, you might want to approach him every time a little bit differently. Like I've heard people say to me, horse needs to get out on the trail. And so when you go out on the trail, you think, well, that refreshes him. And what refreshes a horse is the actuality that what happens is that every time you see him, you can be a new you. And the horse can be a new himself. So you meet him at that level. And so the 5 heartfelt strings of connection is a way, when we see him, maybe we can't read our horse well. Maybe we can't say, well, I don't know what's going on for him. So what you can do is you can say, well, will you companion walk with me? Right? And the horse says, oh, no, I think I'll just stay here and eat this food. And I say, okay, so he has an agenda, he can't pay attention, he's got his food, so what do I do about it? Well, what I can do about it is I can ask him to do something that doesn't take his food away from him. That would be a good one, like head up and head down. And then he starts focusing on listening to you, head up and head down. And he starts enjoying the game so much that now he says, I'm ready to leave my food. So you've got your horse to leave your food. The next thing you know, you have this horse that's companion walking, listening to you. You're picking up his energy by asking him to go trot and come up. And there you have your horse completely in your hands.
So that absolutely. And I love that explanation. And I want to go back to something that you said, Carolyn, because I think it's really important for the new students and for all of them, but especially for the new students to understand why we would ask for companion walking. And I'd like to explain this because what we're doing in this program, and I'd like for everybody to just dial in all the information that you have going around in your heads about this program. It's all this stuff in the course and you've read ahead and you feel you're behind, and there's a lot of stuff that we feel while we're practicing a new method on this journey, right? But I want you to come down to the core of this. And the reason that this question really hit home for me that it needed to be discussed was because Carolyn Boniface asked it in the classroom, and she asked it in a way that made me feel it isn't clear. Because she asked once, Carolyn, she was directly to, with your horses, Nan and Carolyn, once they are very proficient with the Waterhole rituals and you have your 5 heartfelt strings of connection well established, do you continue working all the rituals with all of them, different ones at different times to keep them practiced and fresh, or do you just focus on specific ones that come easily and are more fun, like go trot and come up or dancing? So there's a like a break there for me in the understanding of what it is. So no matter how many years that we've been working with our horses, they're still sentient beings that every day we need to check in with them and see how they are today. Every day they're different. Every horse shows up different every day, and so does every human. So just because our horses know the Waterhole rituals, it doesn't mean that we practice one more than the other. So how we determine which ritual we are going to practice with that horse each day is by asking him to go companion walk with us. Now, I'm going to pause for a minute there, because for those of you who are new, you do know from the onboarding call that I've done with you that there are 7 rituals in the Waterhole Ritual program. The first 5 rituals are the 5 heartfelt strings of connection. And those are the bond, which we developed by sharing territory with our horse. Trust, which we work with the horse in a way that he understands this code of conduct that you'll learn later. And he learns to trust us because we are never going to go into his personal space without him accepting it. Then the third ritual is respect. And we work on respect by taking territory. And that's another part of the code of conduct that we'll go over in a minute. And then willingness. Willingness is developed by leading from behind. And then the 5th ritual is eye contact ritual. And that develops focus. Now, this is the key to the whole program. When you have 5 heartfelt strings of connection vibrating between you and your horse in the moment, the gift you receive from your horse is companion walking. That's how you know you have what is called magnetic connection, which is necessary for you to be able to dance at liberty, to be 100% connected to your horse so that you're energetically like one. Magnetic connection is like flocks of birds in the sky flying and schools of fish swimming and stampeding horses. You don't see them bumping into each other and falling out of the sky. And horses aren't falling over each other in a stampede. They're magnetically connected. We're looking for this kind of connection.
Another thing I want to say is they didn't get to go to school to learn it either.
That's right. This comes natural.
The foal next to the mother, none of that was learned. But when
they were born with it.
Heartfelt strings are aligned there, and the intention is togetherness. It works.
Absolutely. So we do have to go back to the natural instincts of the horse. They're born, right? They're born with this knowingness, this instinct to follow anything leaving them and to leave anything coming toward them. So when you think of it like that, that is their nature. It's the nature of horses, their natural instinct. So lots of times in captivity, domestic horses have lost their natural instincts. They don't understand move or come, right? But they did when they were born. At one time, they did. So this is why it brings well-being to the horse, because we are giving back this ability for them to tap into their natural instincts if they've lost it. And if they haven't, wow, it's just easier, right? But they understand this language. So that is how we communicate with the horse. Always, when we, Carolyn and I, go out to our horses, the very first thing that we do is see if we still have magnetic connection. It can still be there. I can go out and say, hey, come with me, Perry. And he's like, oh, here I am with me, right? And we are connected. And sometimes he's like, who are you? Like I could have just been there 20 minutes ago, but he doesn't care. He just wants to be with his hay or whatever. But we have an understanding of how to tap in to these 5 heartfelt strings of connection, which is what we are teaching you all to do. Because when you can do that, you are speaking your horse's language. You are actually able to communicate with your horse based on his natural instincts, okay? So how genius. I mean, I keep going back to what Warwick said in our podcast, Carolyn, when he said, how did nobody else ever figure this out? It's so true. It's so amazing.
The thing I also want to say is that what we're learning by letting the horse be our teacher, because you're teaching us how to communicate with the horse. So what we learn from the program is when to lead, when to follow, when to act, and when to pause. And when you are in that loop, you're in a different consciousness with a horse. It's a one-minded consciousness that a horse doesn't want to break that chain. They're there. So you have to see, it's like, jump rope. You're going to jump in the rope. You say, can I go now? You say, yes, there, I'm in. When to get out? Yes, I'm out. So you're working, you're always working in the flow. You're always working in that soft feel. And we're always asking something where the horse says, yeah, I could do that. And then once we have that, then as we develop our skills, we learn how to bring a horse's energy up, how to bring it down, and where the horse says, what do you want? You want me to be slow? Do you want me to be quick? What do you want? Tell me. It's yes, like that. And that happens in the play, Dancing with Horses to Music. And they look for it.
Yeah.
They look for it.
And so when we take that piece right there, Carolyn, and we say, okay, what are we looking for? Let's say it is in this program, what Carolyn built up to is liberty dancing, but it could be any kind of performance, right? It could be just getting in the saddle for a trail ride. It could be for something competitive. When you have these 5 heartfelt strings of connection on your horse in the moment, it's really nothing your horse won't do for you. It makes it easier to have a conversation with the horse. So we ask the horse for companion walking. We see if we've got it. If we've got it, do we have to do anything? No, we can continue on and do whatever we want with our horse. Our check-in before we would ask our horse to do anything for us is to see if those 5 heartfelt strings are on our horse in the moment between us. Now, once you have companion walking, what Carolyn was talking about, activating the horse would be the next level, right, Carolyn? Liberty dancing. So you can get the horse activated. But there's something really important about that. And that comes back to another question that's in the classroom that Carolyn Boniface had asked. And that was, she has a lot of questions about the gas pedal. And the gas pedal is simply the ability for your horse to go at whatever speed you ask him to go. But he isn't going to go at any speed that you're not in. In other words, Carolyn, you said it so perfectly yesterday when we were going over the questions in the classroom. Your energy he has to match your energy. So if you go out there, like, I need you to go. Can you go? I want you to go faster with this energy. your horse isn't moving. So whatever your energy, you have to bring yourself alive to be able to enliven your horse. So there should be a very clear understanding of what the gas pedal is. It is about tapping him into his natural instincts to move when you ask him, at whatever speed you ask. And if I say, can you go? Maybe I just want him to turn and walk away. If I say, let's go, he might trot away. And if I say, let's go, and I bring up my energy, then my horse is probably going to go off with exuberance. And that's what we would like to have when we're liberty dancing. Because if you send a horse off, right, and he's not in a great, energetic way, he's going to lose his energy before he comes back to you. So you're never going to get a chance to liberty dance with him. Also, you can't send a horse out to go trot and liberty dance if you don't have magnetic connection, because what do you think will happen? Carolyn, tell me, what do you think will happen?
He won't come back.
He won't come back. So great answer, Carolyn Resnick. Anyway, I just think that, this is something that I know there's a lot of nuance to it and there's a lot of learning in it, but it's very simple. We can keep it more simple if we just say we got to focus on each one of these things. And if you ask the horse something and it doesn't work, go back to what works. If you can't get a gas pedal on your horse, you're not dancing, that's okay. Go do something else.
Like if we get a no in the program, in the behavior of the horse, we want to consider several things. And one of the things that we want to consider was the exercise that we were asking for too big of a step for that horse to take? So instead of saying, well, he's got to pay attention, we're saying, no, let's look at what we're doing here. That step's too big for that horse. He did it yesterday, but that's not what's going on for him today. So let's go to the step that we know that he will be quick to do and that he feels good about it. So
absolutely,
we don't train in the emergency. We ask. If we don't get, we leave it alone. If you do that, your horse will never get so that he is insecure about you, because that's really important. You do not want a horse to be insecure about you. And so that's one of the ways to avoid that anytime you ask for anything, the horse will be there for you.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and I want to explain about the exercises, and this is really important for those of you who are just starting the program, but for everyone to understand that in the beginning, it's possible for you to go to a horse and just run through the 7 Waterhole rituals, the 5 Heartfelt strings, and get the 7 rituals without practicing introducing food, introducing hay, 1 pile of hay, 5 pile. The reason that Carolyn developed those exercises was to teach the student how to maneuver around these horses, how to learn body language, intention, clarity. It brings in a lot of training to the horse, even though that's not what we're doing. We're not training the horse. We're developing flexible boundaries with our horses. It's teaching you the beginning of halt, wait, asking your horse to wait there, okay? It's beginning you an understanding of how to, gosh, Carolyn, you could probably articulate it better than me, to be able to get your horse to be able to, like a one-minded consciousness. That's what that's bringing together, so that when you say head up, your horse knows head up. You've learned the energy and the language. And
2 things to consider is what I see that horses do not get enough of working with people, is they're always working on that horse performing all the time. And that really causes that gas pedal to get screwed up. So it's really important that I can take a horse and I can say, whoa, the horse is going to stop, going to slide to stop, and I say, okay, you wait there. And that horse will stand there and wait there and stay there until I can come back. I can go back, do a phone call, whatever, come back. He's still standing there because I've done enough sharing territory with him so that he understands that that doing nothing is as invaluable as doing something. There's nothing nervous about him. There's nothing, oh yeah, this is the pause. And they enjoy it. That they enjoy everything that you're asking to do because you've never pointed out to them that what they're doing is wrong. You just pass on it. You see, like, let's say he did something that was, I didn't like that, you know, and he puts his ears back. Okay, if you don't point out that you didn't like it, he'll forget how to do it wrong. It's like he wasn't even seen, he wasn't even experienced, you know, and you put him to something he can do and he says, oh yeah, okay. He forgets anything.
So
because you
true.
didn't connect with it. You did not connect with it at all.
Just like kids, if you don't put any attention to the bad behavior, right, and only the good,
Absolutely.
the bad stuff just isn't getting any attention. It's the same
Like,
thing. And if we think
when
about
you
it more
walk,
like that,
let's
it
say you
makes
walk
sense.
away from that horse and that horse, you know, said, you know, well, I told her, okay, look, well, I'm going to just wait for that energy to come down, you know, get that horse back into a state of neutral. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead him from behind and he'll see who the leader is now. And he said, oh, I got it. You say, good, glad you're back on the page again. But you do it when the horse is receptive to being open to the fact of giving up an attitude about something that he did earlier. It's
Absolutely, so important.
It's fun.
And I want to mention, before we go on to the next subject, I want to mention too that another reason Carolyn put these exercises in the program is because people have a hard time doing nothing with a horse. And when you know the Waterhole rituals, okay, those exercises are very, very helpful, obviously, for you to learn all of the things that I said before. But when I go in, or Carolyn goes in, or Ava goes in, or Hannah, and some of our other students that have been a long time in the program, we don't have to run through those exercises to connect with the horse. We go in and we run through the 5 heartfelt strings of connection because we know how to do it. A lot of you that are just really skilled horsemen are probably the same, but we bring this to your attention because, first of all of those exercises in the sharing territory section of this program are helping you and your horse develop a cross-species bond as well, because you're actually taking the time to do something with the horse that is sharing territory around food. It's different than treating, okay? We treat, but we don't have to, and we do not have to use food in this method to get results. But the reason, again, that it was put together like this was because it is easier and faster to develop manners in a horse around food. There's something that he wants, right? And then he needs to learn respect and flexible boundaries around space and food. So I just wanted you to see the building blocks of the method and how Carolyn put it together so that it makes sense. And then also discuss that those 5 heartfelt strings of connection are never finished. We aren't done with them because Carolyn and I, you know, have horses that are on, like, that's not it. This is a continual check-in on the relationship. So, Carolyn, do you have anything else to add on 5 heartfelt strings of connection before I go on to the next subject?
Well, I could talk too long, so I think we should move on to what the next part is, because there's so much to say about the 5 heartfelt strings of connection. What I'm hoping happens for people when they're practicing them, that they can walk up to a horse and know what's going on in his mind. That is the bottom line, that you can walk up to that horse and say, well, I'm not walking up into that horse's space. That horse has made it very clear that that would probably be a bad idea.
Yeah.
And just knowing how to make choices without having to say, do I have to run through the Waterhole rituals? Say, well, you know, in this case, I don't know the horse, so I think I'm going to run through these rituals, and I'm going to make a guess here, because I want to teach my students to guess. Now, I guess I wonder how, you know, how his eye contact is. And I walk up to the horse and I cluck, and he doesn't pay any attention to me. I've got to say, what went wrong with that? He did not pay attention to me. So we have to look at how to ask ourselves the next question. Why isn't this horse paying attention? Is he deaf? Well, these are questions you're going to ask yourself. Is he preoccupied? Is he thinking the cluck was meant for somebody else? All of these things. And all of the questions you ask yourself, if you pause for a moment, honest to God, this is true, and no answer comes to you, it will come to you. And you'll watch yourself do things, take another step. Is that asking the question, let the energy go, and it'll come back so that your answer will say, well, I don't know, but I'm just wanting to do this with him. And that what you decide to do with him will always be one of those exercises in the 5 piles of hay, because that's going to shed the fastest information you want to know about that horse.
That's what I love so much. We have tools. This is just filling our toolbox full of tools. And lots of you come with a lot of tools. And some of them are good, I guess, and some of them work and don't work. But once you have this relationship with your horse, I bet you most of that stuff is going to be easy peasy. So I love this subject. And we're going to go on because we always are continually talking, obviously, about them because it's the core of the program. But for now, I'd like to get on to another subject. And this subject is a really good subject for the newbies in the class, because they are going to be turning in this particular exercise first before anything else. And there was a question in here, and it was by you, Paulette. Thank you for the question, because it inspired us to talk a little bit more about introducing a reed. So there's several purposes for that. One of the things that I would like students to think a little bit more deeply about is the purpose of these exercises and the practical use of the exercise. Because I'm not saying that you all aren't. I'm just saying, for me, in any clinic situation or any teaching, I want the student to understand why we're doing what we're doing and the practical reason. Because I think sometimes in a course like this, you are trying to get as much as you can out of this so you can take it with you and practice later. And we forget that we're not just going through the emotion. We're not supposed to be just waving a reed at a horse because we're supposed to move the horse. We have to understand why. And the reason that we're introducing the reed from the other side of the fence as the very first exercise is, first of all, for us, we need to know that you're safe. We need to know that the horse will respond to your request for him to move out of your way, so that we know what kind of horse that you have and the interaction that you have with your horse. We can read how you handle horses. So that's very helpful for us. And it's very helpful for you too, because it's hard to move a horse from the other side of the fence with a reed. And if you can do it, then most likely you can do it just fine when you're face to face with the horse. Paulette, you asked about the hay in the arena. We say hay should always be in the arena and water at all times. But I don't put it in if I'm doing a clinic until after I teach the intro to reed exercise, because I don't want the horse to be fully engaged in the hay, right? When I have carrots and I have a reed and I'm trying to get him to move. Okay. So once I get the horse to move and I've gone through that exercise successfully, then I will put hay in the arena, because we're going to go in now, right? We're going to be in the arena with the horse, and we always want the horse to feel comfortable. So what we're going to do is make sure that there's hay and water in there at all times. When we bring in this reed, the reason we're walking around in the horse's environment and using this reed like a Geiger counter in front of us, down low, down high, up high, painting the sky, down low, in a very slow motion, relaxed motion, is so that the horse will get used to the reed and not have fear over it. That's the whole reason for it. And then as you're going through the arena, you want to make sure you cover the entire arena so that he doesn't think you missed a spot and maybe you didn't go there because it was a scary spot or something like that. You're going to go up and gently go toward your horse. And you'll see it in the video Carolyn has in the classroom. And the horse should move away from the hay, and then you just turn and go. It's not a big deal. You don't need the horse to go trotting off. You don't need any of that. Just walk away, okay? The horse can go back to if he wants. If he stays with his head down, in the hay, great. He could care less about the reed. That's the outcome. That's what we want to happen. We want the horse to not be concerned about us. We don't want him to see us as a predator, or the reed to be something that would be uncomfortable for him. So that is the purpose of that exercise. Carolyn, would you like to add anything to this about introducing the reed exercise?
Well, let's look at what a normal horse would do. A horse that has no history, if you use a reed, the horse will move away. A horse that has a history that has created fear, the horse will be afraid that you have it in your hand. If a horse has been desensitized so much that he doesn't have to listen to you, if you walked up and showed him the reed and tried to move him, he would eat it. So it gives you some really valuable information to know what you need to fix on that horse, and you go about fixing it. Now, the thing that's also, remember, that's important to understand about the Waterhole rituals is we're not training for performance. We're training for that horse to be able to connect with us in communication. So it's about communicating and getting on a clear pathway of understanding. So the first thing is that we can use a reed and move the horse. Yes, we know we can use a liberty whip. Yes, we know that we have that. But what we want is, we don't want to have to go to that. We want to have that because we requested it. So it starts out with a reed so that the horse understands that it's not a tool to attack him. And so that's what and throughout the whole training of the horse, we sometimes use a reed and sometimes we use the liberty stick. And that is determined by how the horse is feeling in the moment and which tool would work best in the moment.
And okay.
Like with my horses, I can teach a horse to be really sensitive that day to a liberty stick, or I can teach him to be not sensitive at all. Like, let's say I have this horse that he's a dancing horse, and any kind of movement at all, he's, right there, right there, right there. And then I'm going to have a bunch of children around him, and I say, see this liberty stick? It doesn't count now. And he says, okay, I got it. They can hit him with a stick. They can do anything. Oh, they're kids. And we have to understand that horses have that same ability of consciousness that a dog has. And we just think we don't give value to horses. And you can adjust that horse and say, well, he's afraid of a liberty stick, or he's afraid. I says, yeah, but that can get over in seconds. You just have to show him. And if you've never broken that trust fact, you're not going to have a trouble with it.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I want people to take into consideration is, what tool do I use? Not just like Carolyn said, I could use this one or that one, but what tool am I going to use? Now, if I'm doing intro to food with a horse I don't know, who could be aggressive around food, I'm going to make sure that I have a liberty stick in my hand, because I feel that it would be safer, because it's going to give me space, right? So I can move the horse away, and I can keep more space and distance between me and the horse. So maybe if I have a really shy horse that's like, can I come to the food? Can I come? I might always just carry the reed. So you have to be able to determine that on your own. And remember, this course is about using your own intuition, yourself, your true nature. We want you to feel what you're supposed to do. We want you to be able to figure it out on your own. Think about it long enough, though, to figure it out.
Yeah, take your choices, try them out, and don't be afraid to fail, because fail is going to give you information. And as soon as you say, well, that didn't work, and you don't insist on it, the horse will forgive you easily.
The other thing I think that people do, I find students do this a lot, because we're happy to always answer questions. So I'm not saying it for that reason, but I think that as students, we jump to ask the question quickly before we've even thought about, oh, that didn't work. We tried it and it didn't work. And we're just going to go right to us, ask us the question to get the answer, where we really want trial and error. We really want you to do that. And, my whole education with Carolyn, and the others of you who have studied with Carolyn will tell you, she'll be like, I don't know what you should do. Why don't you go try? You know, you'll ask her, right, Hannah? Right? Say, hey, well, I don't know. Uh, you go try it. You know, use some experimentation, because she wants us to be creative. And I think we've been taught so long, at least I know I was taught, you do it this way and then you do it that way and then you do it this way. You know, our education system has set us up that way, and we feel that there is a right way and a wrong way. And that's not necessarily true in horsemanship, but a lot of horsemanship methods teach us the same way. So it's kind of hard to get out of that mindset, but I would like y'all to really think about how you could try something over and over again without drilling the horse until you get the right way, you know, the way that your horse accepts. And that's really what we're looking to teach you. How can you work with any horse and get a yes? Which Carolyn, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of things that you're going to learn that I'm going to say, and you want to write them down in a book, because this is really important. When your horse doesn't respond to you in what you're doing today, don't ask for more. He'll do it the next day. That's a promise. It takes a while for a horse to process, and especially what the horses are learning here is what the horses are learning is they can evaluate and they can experiment and they can try. Like a lot of horses, they don't want to try anything because they know what's going to happen to them if they, you know, if they make a wrong move. They say, I can't do that. No, you can do it. And I can tell you, yes, I like that, or I don't like it, or let's try it again. But the horse knows that there's not negative response to whatever you say. Like I did an exhibition with a miniature horse, teaching the horse how to Spanish walk, and at Liberty. And when I would ask the horse to pick up his leg, he would snap at the air at me, and I would pet him, and I walked him off his spot. I walked him up again, and I would ask him, and he did that same thing again. I said, good boy, let's go around. And the horse is reading my mind. And he's saying to himself, well, that really isn't what she wants. And the next time I put him up there and I ask him to pick up his leg, and he picks it up and he waves it high in the air. Because I didn't get after him, he had to think in his head, what is it does she really want? Because it isn't that. And that's a thinking horse. And that's what we're developing. The horse has a right to his expression and his reaction. And if you understand that, that horse will build into an amazing horse. So that's what I want to say. So we don't necessarily have to look at that negative as being something that needs to even be thought about.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. That was one of the things I forgot to mention when I was talking about those exercises in the sharing territories section of the program. We're teaching the horse problem solving skills. So not only were those exercises developed to help the student learn to maneuver around the horse in a different way than normal, right? But it teaches the horse problem solving skills because you're giving him an opportunity to figure it out, which leads us into a perfect exercise to explain this, which is one pile of hay, which was another question that Brenda had asked in the classroom. And I did answer these in writing, but I just felt that we needed to have a larger talk around it. So the purpose of one pile of hay, okay, this is also teaching our horse a problem solving skills. We go through the program introducing the read first, inside and outside of the horse's area. Then we introduce food with food in the bucket and without food in the bucket. And now Brenda's to the point where she's doing one pile of hay with her horse. This horse has already learned that the food is hers. Okay, the horse is respectful of it. The horse goes away because he knows that this bucket of carrot is hers. He goes and eats his hay. There's other food for him. There's water, not doing anything wrong, saying you can't have this food. This is my food. Same thing that they do in nature, right? This is my spot, back off or come in. They have the right to say it's their personal space, we are emulating that. We have the right. That's our food. It's our bucket. Going into one pile of hay now, there is no other source of food except the hay. The carrots are gone. There's no other food. There's layers to this. We've taught the horse now several things about respect and flexible boundaries around our personal space. We have one pile of hay and we say to the horse, it's my pile of hay. You need to go. The horse needs to respect to go, just like he did with the bucket of carrots. But now we say, and you walk away. You ask the horse to go, the horse goes, you go. Now the horse gets to figure this out. You're going to say, you're going to get into this triangle that most of you know, and the new people here will know. You're going to give the horse an opportunity to decide whether he's going to come to you for the hay, whether he's going to leave, or whether he's going to go to the hay on his own. He's not allowed to do that, by the way. It's your hay. He has to come to you if he wants the hay. So this is teaching him problem-solving skills, and it is allowing him to understand in your leadership that you will tell him when to eat and when not to eat in this particular situation, okay? So when you get into that triangle and you ask him to come and you bring him to the food, he knows that you are the good guy and you brought him to the food. So this all starts to resonate with the horse, and the horse realizes that you're not keeping the food from him, that you're taking him to the food, but he needs to figure it out. So when he starts to go to the food, Brenda, it's like, you need to go, just go. You don't get to go to the food, but if you want to come to me, I'll take you there. Simple
Okay,
as that,
the next
okay?
thing, yeah, the next thing is you never block a horse. You let him, in
Right.
other words, he walks to the food, you let him. But when he does, he gets driven off of it. So the horse understands that wasn't the answer. But if you block him, he will never, never learn to stay away from that food, because he will watch and say, well, I don't have a block now. But when you let him go to the food and he gets into trouble, this means that you could put down a one pile of hay, say, there's your food over there, I'll be back, make a phone call, and you can come back, and he will not touch that hay, because he knows that he's learned what the rule is on that particular pile of hay.
And it's shocking at the end of the day when you've gone through all of this with your horse and you have this big puppy dog horse that knows every move you make. If I go out and I'm in the arena with my horses and one of them, and I'm farther away, and just say I went over there to get a sip of water and they start to go, oh, she's not looking. And I go, they're like, oh, I wasn't going to that hay. So it becomes a natural language between you and your horse. Isn't it true, Ava? She's laughing. It's so true. And they all respond to, And so I love it because it gives us also games to play. It's not just about, learn this, do that. It's fun. It's revolving around food. It's interaction. Besides asking the horse to always do something for us, we're saying, let's do this together. Let's go to the hay together. Let's hang out in 5 piles of hay together, So basically, I hope that it answers Brenda's question, but I would think that it is a really good topic to understand that, oh, I know, I'm so sorry. I didn't answer her whole question. She said, the horse won't come to me. It doesn't matter. The horse doesn't have to come to you. As long as he doesn't go to the pile of hay, that horse can go all the way to the other end of a field. You can go sit in your chair and relax. But the horse can't go to the hay. So she was going to give a treat. Don't do that. We don't bring treats in on this. We don't need to lure the horse or bribe the horse. It's simple as this. You can either come to me to go to the hay, or leave. I don't care. Whatever you want to do. But these are the boundaries that I've set for you around that pile of hay. So I hope that makes sense. Carolyn, do you want to add something to this?
No, I don't. That was really good.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So next thing is, let me just make sure I got everything in except Kelly's question about leading from behind and how to start and how to pick up the energy and a gas pedal from leading from behind exercise. So Carolyn, you coached Kelly in the last class about her leading from behind in a lot of detail. So she went out and practiced that and had some questions about the horse turning back into her and whether she was doing it correctly or not. I can read it again if you want, but I think a simple explanation of how to do it would be just as good. So you tell me how you would like to talk about it.
Well, I don't understand what she said. Did she say it's getting better or not?
She didn't say that. Let me read it to you because I think it's valuable. And Carolyn Boniface had also said she felt it was a good question because she's had some of those thoughts herself about what to do.
Okay.
So she was trying to make sure that she was not going on the wrong track after what she was told by you to do last week. So she said, I position myself. So she's explaining how she perceived it. So I position myself in front of her, then I back up and disconnect by having her stay there while I go backwards. Then I bring up a joyful play energy and say, go trot, bringing my energy up and using the Liberty stick as a follow through. She now will turn and go off at a trot and canter. So yes, she is doing that at least. Okay, there we go.
Wow.
At first, I was getting a squeal and sometimes a kick. Not sure if it was play or protest. It's okay. I'm still only getting a few steps before she either totally stops or tries to arc around me and wants to come in. And then I keep her walking forward and follow her and leading from behind. Is that correct? That was the first part of the question.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah, let me answer that. Well, if a horse kicks, it means that you need to put more gas pedal on the horse and that'll take out the kick. The horse isn't going forward, so that you want to just make the horse go more forward. So it's a sign that you've got to see that the horse's energy is going to drop, and when it drops, it's going to kick. That's just, you can see it. So it's important to stay on top of that driving aid, right? So come on, go, go, go. If it's an expression of celebration, the horse will be kicking out and then taking off in a playful way rather than in an angry way. You can read it. Say, is he disturbed or is he celebrating? And that's something we have to be able to read on our horse. We have to read, is he disturbed or is he celebrating? Because a kick can be, as Kelly pointed out, which one is it? If you'd ask yourself the question, if you always ask yourself, what is it? You will answer yourself, and mostly it's going to be right.
Sure.
But we forget to ask ourselves for what the thing is. So the thing is when the horse turns back, you need to see before the horse turns back, you need to move him out some more. You can't just expect that you're going to sit down and he's going to run around in the arena for 5 minutes without being directed. That's just not practical. You've got to stay on top of it as much as your horse is staying on top of it. Okay. So
right,
anytime
with the energy.
Anytime your horse looks at you and your horse is running, he's looking at you. He's saying, should I come in? As soon as you see that horse looking, you say, go out further. That way you don't have a horse that is going to stop or slow down. He asks you a question. You need to respond to him. Go, more go, more go. And I think that probably answers that. But
yeah, and there's one thing I thought of while you were talking.
I'm so happy that Kelly is now getting her horse to have some opinion, because if you can't,
it's so perfect. I was thinking the same thing.
Like we're going in the right direction rather than the wrong direction, because now we're having a horse that's enlivened. He's got some ideas. He's asking some offerages to say, well, what about this? And if you chose leading from behind as your avenue to help him out, leading from behind can never hurt anything.
Right.
Never, ever, ever. It might not be. The other thing that we want to remember when we're doing this, and this you want to write in your book and never forget it, there are 50 ways to do it right, and there's 50 days of doing it wrong. And each day, those rules may be changed, that the ones that were right today are wrong tomorrow. You've got to be able to pick the things that you want. You pick them, you pick them, you pick them. The response that you get lets you know whether what you picked was the right thing. If you get confused, Don't continue asking your horse. Let that horse do whatever he wants and move on to something to where you know that this is what will bring your horse to the next better connection that you're reaching for.
No, that was so good, Carolyn. What a great explanation. The only thing I want to add to that is for Kelly, I was picturing like how that would happen, and one of the things that you talked about was bringing your energy up. And I believe that sometimes, especially when we're new practicing leading from behind, we bring our energy up for the minute and boom, we drop our energy. So the horse goes, boom, we're stalled. But it's like, go and move forward. You got to keep going, and you need to bring that energy so that the horse has something to move on for, because he's reading you. If you stop, he's like, I'm reading you leading from behind. You just stopped. Your feet stopped, my feet stopped, right? So I wanted to bring that up.
Yes, what happened to Kelly is the horse looks back at her, and Kelly says, "What?" And her horse looks at her and says, "What?" And then Kelly says, "What?" And then the horse says, "What?"
Yes.
What? Said, who's the driver here? There's got to be somebody that's the driver. So that's you. Say, okay, continue. But the main thing that you want to do is whenever your horses do it, you don't get frustrated. You don't say, I need a stronger aid. You can either use the aid and get what you want, or not use that aid because it won't work, and start over again, because you can do that. But I think that where Kelly is way ahead since the last time we worked with her.
Me too. And one more thing, Kelly, about the turning around as the horse turns around. You've had an issue with that. But if you are still moving, that's why I feel like you're dropping your energy. If you're still moving with the intention, you want the horse to keep trotting a little bit or just move on a little bit, your horse isn't going to have a chance to turn around. But that stall in you is the horse, I believe, looking for your direction. So next time you try it, I think everything is perfect that you're doing. Just try that. I bet it's the answer. I have a feeling it is.
Yes, with some people, let's say that she kicked up the energy of the horse so high that the horse won't stop running. Okay. In some people, I would be so pleased at that response.
Yes.
And if that happens, you say, well, I'm just going to go sit down in this chair where the horse won't go and just let the horse find his way back home.
That's right.
You say, well, that was over the top. We didn't need that. Good boy, companion walk. Say, okay, that's cool. I made a mistake. Your energy's back. But nothing that you're going to do to that horse because of the bond that you've built with him is going to cause you to wind up in a jail that you're not going to be able to retrieve your horse. That's just not going to happen.
That was exactly how we were going to end today, is that we all have to keep in mind that we're always looking for, and this is in our glossary, the entry point of connection with our horse. What can we do with our horse that we're not afraid to do, where we can get a yes and still have with our horses? And I think that if we just keep in mind that this is all about relationship and connection and building a bond with the horse, there is nothing that the horse isn't going to forgive us for, because none of us here are going out there to beat our horses or to do something horrible. So this feeling that people have of being predatory and all of that really can be put in the back seat, because you don't need that. And the horse isn't going to think that, because of the deep bond that we've developed with the horse and that we're continuing to develop through the Waterhole rituals. So, Carolyn, anything you want to say to wrap this beautiful lecture up? I've just really enjoyed talking to you about all this.
Yeah, I feel really